Sana. Welcome back. What's it like to talk to people? I can't quite remember. I'm coming to you from current self-isolation, only 4 days left. And I was editing a video, this video, that I shot a few months back, I guess during lockdown 3, and I figured it could do with a tiny little intro from current me. There would be a little life update, some really interesting dystopian books that I have bought during lockdown because my local bookshop just dangerously lets you just email a title to them and then 2 days later they go, yep, it's here. So that is continuously happening. I'm also talking about the YA Book Prize and I might pop up once or twice in this video to give you a little update on stuff. So let's go. It's been a little while since I've seen you and I thought it was high time to do, I guess it's a lockdown update. I've also found a new little corner in the flat to film. I actually took a whole week off of work. Last time I did it was the week when I announced my book, the book club journal. Quick update in case you missed it. I am currently living with my boyfriend, Jer. I'm still a freelance photographer, video editor, and social media producer slash manager. One of the things I've been doing during lockdown is I started a rewatch of the Vampire Diaries. That was a choice. I had, the period in first lockdown where I rewatched all of the Twilight films. Then more recently, I found out about the reality TV show Below Deck, which takes place on a small yacht and is about the crew and is absolutely bizarre and just the best lockdown distraction. And I watched every season there is, plus every spin-off that exists. And I'm done with that and I'm just trying to forget that ever happened. Then I needed something else in my life, so I decided to start rewatching the Vampire Diaries from the very beginning. I think I watched up to season 5, but like very, very sporadically over many, many years. Because I did watch the first season like straight when it came out around like the Twilight hype. And I was very upset at like the very obvious way that they were trying to like hook in Twilight fans. Anyway, that's a very long time ago. But yes, rewatching the Vampire Diaries has been an excellent coping mechanism. One thing that I haven't shared on here yet is that this year I am a judge for the YA Book Prize. Now, I followed the YA Book Prize since the beginning. I've always worked in YA publishing, first at Hotkey Books, then at Penguin Random House UK. I absolutely love YA. I love the community. I love the authors, the enthusiasm, and being a judge for this prize is something that I've always really, really wanted to do ever since I started working in publishing. And I'm so excited I get to do that this year and I have to make my way through all of these books. Actually, in the second half of this video, I am going to talk you through all of these books. In case you're looking for some new UK YA, I obviously can't tell you anything yet about like how I feel about the books that I've read so far, but I'm going to give you just a quick run through of all the books that are on the shortlist. I'm also working with the YA Book Prize on photography and social media. A photo that I took in my living room during lockdown has actually been printed in the Bookseller magazine. There's a wrap cover here and then here is the photo of the shortlist. This is just one of those things that me 8 years ago never could have imagined. I'm very happy I get to have a real life copy of that. All right, that is enough of that. Let's get into some dystopian fiction. For a project that I'm working on that was a series of videos on my channel that I would like to turn into a podcast, but also because this is a genre that I absolutely love, dystopian, apocalyptic, anything related to it. I really wanted to make sure that the books that I was reading, especially also including some classics, came from a variety of languages and backgrounds. So I recently sat down and started making a list of dystopian and apocalyptic books I've already read, my favorites, ones I still want to read, and then tried to find a bunch of new ones that I hadn't heard about before either. Big shout out to the artisan geek, Seiji, who has an incredible booktube channel that I absolutely love, and she has really incredible resources on her website where she shares a ton of diverse book recommendations. Some of these came from that list as well. I have 5 books to show you. One of them was on back order and so I had to order it from another bookshop, but basically I was making the list of all the ones I was interested in and then I kind of opened a draft email to send to my local bookshop and put them all in for a future order, and then once I put them all in I got too excited about them and just ordered them all in one go. So obviously I haven't read these yet, but I did purposely choose books that had really good reviews or were famous in the country of origin or had won literary prizes. We're starting with The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. It was shortlisted for the 2020 International Booker Prize. This one was translated from Japanese by Stephen Snyder, and the premise of this seems quite straightforward and basically something that you can get from reading the title of the book. There are people living on an island, there is a memory police, things get taken away and you forget about them. Then there is a novelist who has a young editor who is at risk of being taken away, and that is where the story kicks off. Not surprisingly, one of the reviews on the back say, echoes the themes of George Orwell's 1984, which I still haven't read. I actually have another book translated from Japanese as well. The Last Children of Tokyo by Yoko Tawada. And that's been translated by Margaret Mitsutani. It has an absolutely stunning cover, and I was really surprised when I picked it up by how short it is. Somehow, from the cover and the title, I was imagining it to be like a properly thick book. So this is set in Japan where a catastrophe has happened. Japan has been totally closed, and only the older generations, and it says here that I guess one of the main characters is 100 years old, and one of Japan's many old elderly remember what it was like before, and this involves a search for a cure to help the younger generation. Obviously these two cover, different topics, but they do seem to fall into the same genre, and it's really interesting to see the comparison between the covers. Then a cover that's very on par with The Memory Police is Dark Constellations by Pola Oloixarac. Pola is an Argentinian author, and the book was translated by Roy Casey. The cover quote for this is extremely interesting. Dark Constellations is a grand saga of the Anthropocene fever dream, spanning continents, centuries, and species. This was quite a pricey book, actually. It was over £20, but I'm guessing it was directly imported from the US, as it's by a US publisher. So this goes from the 19th century to like a nearby future, and it's about, again, surveillance, control, and like the quest for knowledge. It's set in 1882, 1983, and 2024. Very, very intrigued by this one, and not one that I'd heard about before. Oh, I was gonna say as well, I opened it up. I just went through like the first few pages. First of all, great opening quote. Hacking is not a spectator sport. Actually has drawings inside as well. I thought I saw Lord Byron. I don't know if that's Byron, but there's a portrait in there as well. Then we're moving on to a classic written in the 30s in Czech, and it's The War with the Nudes by Karel, I wasn't sure how to pronounce his name, Capek, translated by M.N.R. Weatherall. This has a Kurt Vonnegut quote on the front, and it's about a giant species of newts that's discovered, and people find out that they can learn how to talk and trade, and then they also very quickly learn that this is a species that they can exploit. I wonder if it has any similarities with H.G. Wells's The First Men in the Moon. It feels like it has that surreal twist of The Day of the Triffids, which is one of my favorite books. Very, very curious about this one. Oh no. And then finally I have American War by Omar El Akkad. This was actually originally written in English, so it's not a translation. The author, interestingly, was born in Egypt, grew up in Qatar, then moved to Canada, and has done journalism related to terrorism and Afghanistan and a bunch of other topics. And it's very interestingly about a civil war in the United States set in 2074. And also, looking at this cover, I would like for you to take a guess about which book this cover was potentially inspired by. It's such a fun game to play, like look up what year something was published and like what was popular the year before. It might not always be true, but I was immediately reminded of another book when I saw this cover. Through the magic of editing, I now get to come to you and talk about one more book that came in after I filmed this video, and that book is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. I don't know why I said crusted with so much emphasis, which is one that I've seen pop up more and more since I saw it the first time. It keeps being mentioned. Again, quite a small one as well, but it is about a indigenous community where winter is about to start and they are cut off from power. And it also seems like there is a crumbling society to the south. So it sounds like it's more than just things happening in that community, but that obviously will affect it. So that's it for my selection of, I guess, potentially lesser known, or at least by me lesser known, dystopian and apocalyptic fiction that I can't wait to read. So now I will quickly run you through the YA book price shortlist as well. Also because this is basically my reading for the next 2 months. Well, I've been reading for the last month and then I'm reading this for the next month. By the way, if you track your reading on the Storygraph, where I have a profile as well, it's Books and Quills, there's also a reading challenge that we set up for the whole shortlist, which I'm obviously participating in because I definitely have to read them all. But yeah, you can have a peek there. Obviously, these books were all sent to me for free as I am a judge and I'm doing photography for the books, so I did not purchase these myself. I haven't been asked to talk about them here. I'm just doing that because it's what I'm currently reading. Okay, I'm gonna do very top line. There's Loveless by Alice Oseman, which is about a young girl who is heading to university for the first time. She's never really had a crush on anyone, and this book is about her discovering that she is asexual and aromantic. Then there's one that I'm reading right now, which is Hold Back the Tide by Melinda Salisbury. It's set in the 1800s in Scotland. It is about a young girl who lives in a very remote cottage with her father, who actually murdered his wife, her mother, and she is trying to find a way to escape. So that's a good length of summary. Then there is The Great Godden by Meg Rosoff. I think I've talked about one of her other books, How I Live Now, in videos before. It's about a family who go to the same sort of beach and house every summer, but this summer the two sons of a famous movie star are staying with their neighbors. One of them's very handsome and charismatic, one of them's like a bit more closed and moody, and it changes the course of the whole summer. And then there is And the Stars Were Burning Brightly by Danielle Jawando. This is about a 15-year-old boy called Nathan who, when he discovers that his brother has taken his life, decides to kind of follow his footsteps and discover what his life was like, trying to figure out more about his brother's life and also try and keep his memory alive. Then there is A Snowfall of Silver by Laura Wood, which is also very silver. Set in Cornwall in the 1930s, about a young girl who runs away because she wants to become an actress, and she joins a touring theatrical company. Then there is Wranglestone by Darren Charlton, which is set in the national parks of America, and it's a very remote group of islands where people live together, hiding away from zombies. Yes, I said it, zombies. There's also a gay love story in here and lots of adventure. Then there is 8 Pieces of Silva by Patrice Lawrence, and this is about two sisters, one of whom disappears and the other sister goes into her room and finds clues or secrets and tries to figure them out. Then there is Cane Warriors by Alex Wheatle. Another beautiful hardback as well, and I love that it has the story of the artist in the back here too. So this is set in 1760, and it's the story of the Tacky Wars against British slavers in Jamaica. It has cover quotes by Steve McQueen and Benjamin Zephaniah. Last 2. There is Melt My Heart by Bethany Rutter, which is a contemporary YA story of a girl about to head off to university. She's plus size but very like comfortable and confident, but also feels like she hasn't been potentially like very active about decisions in her life, and she's quite fearful of going to university. She also has a twin sister who she thinks like everyone thinks is prettier than her and more popular than her, and this is about a summer where she decides to do a new thing every day. Finally, we have Good Girl, Bad Girl by Holly Jackson. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, where previously the main character looked into an unsolved crime case. Now she has her own true crime podcast, which goes viral. She says she doesn't want to do any sleuthing anymore, but then someone goes missing. And that's the full list. Hi, me from the future. I can actually tell you who the winner of the YA Book Prize is in case you missed that a few weeks back, and it is Loveless by Alice Oseman. So massive congrats to Alice. This was an absolute pleasure to read. It's actually one that I had already read before. It was such a fun process to be a judge. We had so many great discussions, and I'm glad I got to like put aside some time to do that. And with a year that doesn't have that many highlights, this was definitely a highlight. I thought it'd be only fitting if current me ends this video. I'm currently reading my proof copy of Reputation by Lex Croucher. This is an absolutely hilarious Regency novel, which is coming out July 8th, and hopefully I will be able to make a video with Lex to talk about it more too. I just have this feeling that there was something else I needed to tell you, but I can't think of it at the moment. So if this is the case, I will be back in another video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Doei!